the report of the appointment committee was laid on the floor of the House yesterday, recommending that Parliament approves the appointment of Justice Clemens Jackson Honyanuga, as well as Justice Isifu Omoro Tanko Amadu, Mr. Emmanuel Yoni Kolendi, and Professor Henrietta J.N. Mensah-Bonsu as justices of the Supreme Court. That particular report was debated on the floor of Parliament a few hours ago, and all these 4 individuals have been approved pending swearing in by the President, so they can become justices of the Supreme Court. And just to quote something very interesting, in the report recommending the approval, all 4 of them, the report indicates that the appointment committee, following the hearing at the level of the appointment committee, is duly recommending all 4 of them for the necessary approval, which the House eventually voted on and went ahead to approve them. Particularly for Justice Clemens Honyanuga, it's looking interesting because we saw a situation where at the level of the appointment committee, the day after he was vetted, the committee voted, and there were 17 members of the committee, 7 of them from the minority side, voted against his approval, 10 of them voted for his approval, and the minority's insistence had to do with the fact that he had endorsed President Akufo-Addo for a 2nd term, and for him that meant he was politically biased and he had breached the code of conduct when it comes to justices, and so he shouldn't serve in the highest court of the land. But on the floor, those arguments against his nomination didn't come up. Harun Idrisu made the point that he had apologized to a certain extent, and so they are letting the issues go. In fact, that apology was rendered before the minority MPs voted against his approval at the level of the appointment committee. But it's interesting that the minority MPs are virtually pulling brakes on their objection to his approval. We heard from the Tamale Central MP, Nusa Fuseni, who indicated earlier in the day that he was also going to object to his approval, but looks like the minority MPs have backtracked and supported the approval. I engaged James Klucha Veji, who is the deputy minority leader, and for him, the decision to vote against the approval at the committee level earlier this month was the decision of the minority MPs on the committee. But at the level of the plenary itself, they're actually supporting this particular approval. And so the 4 of them have actually been approved, and the President is expected to swear them in so they can take up their jobs as justices of the Supreme Court.
And on it goes. Joseph, I was going to ask you a few questions, but you've answered all of that for me in that comprehensive details that you've given us about what happened. But we heard earlier on, as far as the COVID testing was concerned, that all professionals, other professionals will have their go at it, according to Dr. Okoboy. We also heard the doctor in Parliament mention that journalists, press corps members like yourself will be tested. How is that going to happen, and when?
And so the processes are still ongoing. I'm here to show up there myself to attempt going through the process, then to see what the response will be. But as Dr. Bernard Okoboy, the Deputy Health Minister, indicated, the idea of getting to various places where people work as professionals in order to get the testing done as more of a mass testing approach is something that they are working on very seriously. And he specifically mentioned that one of the things they're looking at is, for example, they could go to bus stations and do a testing for trotro drivers and all others who are gathered there, essentially making the point that they are stepping up the testing as a way to ensure that as many people know what exactly their COVID-19 status is, as a way to help avert further spread of the disease by individuals or people who may not know they have the disease because they may be asymptomatic.
Joseph, thank you for that update. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our parliamentary affairs correspondent in that bright yellow shirt, and also our recent latest award winner.